twigs, everything that we found in the garden, and of course water. Now an easy way to understand the materials required, or the ABC of composting, is ATM. We all go to ATM, so we have an ATM for composting also. A is air, T is, I'll come to that later. So first let's go through the greens, browns and water that we require. So what is the greens? Green is the kitchen waste. Browns is the dried leaves and twigs. Water, that is get from the atmosphere, and air also we can get from the atmosphere. Now, why we require greens? We require greens because it provides nitrogen, which is the most essential element for the soil. For the plants to grow nicely, that is the nitrogen that is required the most. The browns provide the carbon, water provides the moisture, and air is required to keep it aerobic. Now, the type of composting, they are on the social media channels like YouTube and everything, etc. You'll be getting lots of videos and lots of write-ups. And if you are following any gardening page, lot of methods to make compost. There is a bokashi method, that is a Japanese method. There is the aerobic method. There is the anaerobic method. The aerobic method, the one which we are going to follow today, is the aerobic method. Now, in aerobic method, we require only these things. Nothing else is required. Except that this is the main that we require for the aerobic. That is the greens, browns, and water. Apart from that, the material that we require would be an aluminum foil tray. Now to dry the greens, in the sense that the waste that we generate, or the peels, for example, the peels of the vegetables. Now is the season, winter season, lot of vegetables we have, lot of fruits we have. For example, peas. So when we shell out the peas, lot of pea shells are of course gathered. So all these are wet in nature. They have some moisture contained in them. So we need to dry them off. So when we dry them off by keeping it in aluminum foil tray. Why aluminum foil tray? Because aluminum will reflect light. You are keeping it out in the open in the balcony or your window to dry it out. So aluminum, what happens? It reflects the light and keeps away the birds, because bird will not come to eat them. Otherwise, if you keep it in some other thing, the birds would eat them. Now we need to collect these greens and browns in our container, and we need to cover that with jute cloth. Any other cloth or paper would also do, but preferably jute cloth. A garden fork, if not garden, just wear gloves in your hands and churn and mix the mixture that we have like a salad every day. We need red earth or any soil is fine to keep away the fruit flies and other insects. You must have noticed that not only the waste that we have, but the fruits also, if we have for some days in the house, fruit flies comes. There's no fruit fly in the house, but they be in the on the fruits itself, the eggs are there and the flies are born. So when we have this waste, green waste in our house, lot of flies will come and attract. That may not be hygiene, and at the same time is very irritating. And hence we don't try composting most of the time. So what we do to keep away the fruit flies, we cover this with any soil. Red earth is preferable, or any earth, any soil which is local to your area is perfectly fine. Why? Because when the soil or red earth, even though dry, as soon as it comes in contact with moisture or it comes in contact with water, it microbes starts germinating, and hence that helps in our process of composting and speeding it up. Coconut fiber is also fine. If you have it, it's not a compulsory, but if you have, it is fine. It can be coconut fiber, it can be sugarcane bagasse, it can be anything. So it's absolutely fine. That is to facilitate aeration, so that there is between the mixtures and all, there is something that we can have uh, uh, like it's not jam packed. When the greens and browns are there, the greens will emit water from it. The moisture will be taken out. So when the moisture comes out, it may get damp and stick to each other. To keep the aeration, to keep some place in between them, we need the coconut fiber or anything else. Browns actually also work up there. Now, Compost can be made in anything. It can be made in baskets, it can be made in drums, it can be on an open pit, it can be made in drums with holes, anything that you can have. It can be made in containers like this. It can be made in the curd containers that we have in our house. So a curd container or anything. But the thing is that whatever you use should have holes in it, because we don't want water to accumulate in it. So what happens when water accumulate? The aeration becomes aeration that is in present of air. We want oxidation to happen. We want compost to be made in air, in presence of air. But sometimes it may not have in present of air, and anaerobic happens. When the anaerobic respiration of the microbes happen, it emits foul smell, which again is not welcome in the house. Hence, we want holes. So it can be in containers like this. Just drill holes at the bottom. So it's in a container like this that I'll show you. Now this container is very small. It's only 1 liter container. So you can have multiple containers like this, and this fill up also very fast. So we can do in containers like this also. So now the process. Now I'm going to the theory part, the process, and then I will practically show you how to do it. Now, so the theory part is like, first we dry the green waste of the kitchen in the sunlight for 1 day. We line the compost bin with brown waste, dry twigs, fibrous material like coconut coir or sugarcane bagasse. Then we mix the dried green waste with equal volume of crushed dried leaves. Mix them like a salad. Add this mixture to a bin above the layer of coconut coir. Then we cover it with a ½ inch of red earth or garden soil over it. We layer the same with 1/4 inch of dried leaves. Cover with a damp cloth and keep it in a cool shade space. Now this damp cloth can be cotton cloth. If you have a jute cloth, that's perfectly good. If it doesn't have it, doesn't matter. Now nothing is a necessity here. Out of all this, anything that you have would be perfectly fine. Now we have to make sure that there are enough holes in the compost bin so that the water doesn't accumulate, leading to anaerobic respiration, which gives foul smell, as I had just told you earlier. Now, this was a basic process. We have a greens. I'll just go through it again, what you need to do. We have the green waste mixed with dried leaves, right? That is the browns. Okay, so we have the green waste and we have the brown waste. Now the brown waste can be, many of time you'll see on the social media channels, YouTube, etc., that they use brown papers, they use this cartons, the Amazon boxes and all. They are tied torn into small pieces and all, but I don't use that. That's not preferably to use that, because nothing is pure. The paper, the carton that they are made up, it's not sure that they are made up of wood and paper. Many artificial things also go into that making, which may not decompose, right? So hence that's the reason why I don't prefer using paper, because paper again have ink in it. So printing ink, though it is not so harmful, but it will not be purely organic. So that's the reason why should not use paper instead of brown waste, because many people, brown means brown paper. So it can be a brown color cardboard, it can be brown color carton, or the cartons are newspaper also. But preferably, and I don't use it. So that's what I wanted to say. So we have, I'll repeat, a layer, line the compost bin with a brown. So the first layer is the brown layer, then a green layer, okay, then coconut coir, and then red earth and garden soil. Okay, so this you can do daily. Again, next day, add greens, add browns, add some twigs, cover it with soil, and cover the whole thing with a moist cloth. Repeat this process till the time your container, whichever container you are using, is full of it. So if I'm using this container is full of it, I will stop using that. So we continue making layers of greens and brown till the bin or the container in which we are making is this full. After it is full, we cover it with a damp cloth, checking and churning every 2 days. We have to churn it really well from top to bottom. And we have to check the moisture level. It shouldn't be too wet. It should not be dry at all. If it is dry, compost will take a long time to make. The substance, the greens and browns will stay as it is. It will not decompose. If it is too wet, maggots may come, worms may come, which we don't like in the house. We don't want any worms or any sort of insects to be there in our house. So we want no maggots, and we also want the compost. We don't want the browns and greens to stay as it is. Hence, the moisture level should be perfect. It should not be dripping. So when you are churning, it will come to know whether the water is dripping or that water droplets comes to your hand. It should be moist but not wet. So I think you will be able to differentiate between them. So if it is wet, what to do? If it is wet, add more of browns, more of crushed leaf. In browns also, I prefer dried crushed leaves, and preferably neem tree leaves is available. Any tree leaves are fine, but more of neem tree, because if you are into gardening and making your own soil, so many challenges you face while gardening in the house, growing flowers and growing vegetables and all. So what happens? Many a times the plants are attacked by pests and insects like aphids and mealybugs and white flies and black flies and red rust, and the leaves turn brown. Many types of problem we face. And if you are searching the net, solution for everything organic is neem tree oil or neem tree. So we will have a neem leaves only in our compost. So compost itself has green leaves and all. Compost itself has the benefits of neem leaves, and hence the plants ailments that are caused to the plants will be less. Now, as I was coming back to the moisture level, it should be moist like a wrung out sponge. If it is dry, sprinkle water to moisten it. Mix up well to evenly moisten it. Put it back in the bin. Cover with moist cloth. Put a lid if you have one. If it's not, it's perfectly fine. Next, if it is too wet, it shouldn't be if you have the following the steps given here. But however, if it is, then do not moisten it further. Do not sprinkle water, but put some dry leaves in it so that will absorb the moisture. Many a times I've seen in some videos that they use hay also. The mango in the season, the summer season, the mangoes come and the hay is there. But the hay and dried grass and all, what happens? They have a coating of wax, right? It's not so natural nowadays. So hence, stick to dry leaves and twigs that you find in your garden nearby when you go for your morning walks. And yes, just remove from bin, turn it well and aerate it if it is too wet. You are going to remove the mixture only if it is too wet to dry it a bit. So because we don't want any maggots in the compost that we are making. You can add some crushed dry leaves to balance the moisture, preferably neem leaves, and put it back in the bin. So this is the pictures, what we have been doing. So the fresh compost bin looks like the, you can see there, the fresh compost bin is there. So it is all of dry, and above this dry browns that we are having, we can have a layer of soil also to avoid fruit flies. Then once it is full, we'll just let it rest. After every 2 days, we are going to churn it ups and down. So that is the resting bin. And the one is the maturing bin, when you can just see how the compost is getting made. This will be in something like 20 days time. Generally, it takes in the Mumbai weather where it is moist and humid, it takes generally around a month to 1.5 a month for the compost to be made completely. So after a month of cooking and resting, the color of the compost starts turning black. At this stage, keep a bin. So after a month, you have to keep it for another 20-30 days to allow the compost to mature before you're going to use it. Then you are going to sieve it so that all the big parts, the twigs and all that is left, will come out. Now, we'll check for less or excess moisture every week. Moisture if required, turn only if found wet. Temperature of compost now starts. So when it is in the resting bin stage, you will find when you are churning it that it has become real warm. When you touch it, it will be warm. Okay, but now in the maturing bin stage, the temperature will fall down. So as I was coming to ATM, I said, so A was for air, T was for temperature, and M was for moisture. That is the ATM of compost. A for air, T for temperature, and M for moisture. So all these three should be in perfect combination for a really good quality compost, which will, if you use it and if you make it, you will not need to add any nutrients, any sort of fertilizer, any sort of insecticides or pesticides in your plants if you have your perfect compost made by you yourself. So remember the ATMs. A is the air. T is the temperature, air. Therefore, they have number of holes in it for it to circulate and aerate it. So there is no foul smell, no flies, no maggots. Temperature should be correct. So when it is in the resting bed state, the temperature will go up. It will rise, and it should not be, now the compost should not be placed out in sunlight. If it is out in sunlight, the temperature is supposed to be too high. So it is always to be in the sunny area but shaded. So you'll put it in the shade. Your bin is to be placed in shade in a sunny area, not directly under sunlight at any point of time, because sunlight will kill the microorganism that is going to work and make your compost for you. So that is the temperature that you have to take care of. So it should be an ideal temperature in places where it is very cold. Keep it in your kitchen. So, and since we are using the aeration method of compost, there'll be no foul smell, there'll be no flies. So it's perfectly fine if you keep a container in the corner of your kitchen where the temperature is between 25 to 35 degrees centigrade. So that is the temperature required for making of compost. Now, in the maturing bin state, you will find the compost is soft and crumbly, and we cannot make out the original, whether it is dry leaves, whether it is the peels of vegetable, peels of apple, or some other thing. We'll not be able to make out and distinguish what went in our compost. Then is the stage or time when we come to know that the compost is made completely. Now, compost and maturing being something around 15 plus days, depending on the weather of the place. A place like hot and humid like Mumbai, it will be sooner. But in a cold place like North India, and especially during the winters, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, etc., it will take a longer time. Can be used to mulch potted plants and soils in beds. Use once the material is soft, dark, and broken down and loses its original shape, because semi-decomposed compost can be phototoxic to plants, right? Once compost is fully matured and ready, phototoxic, so what happens? You will add a handful of compost to the plant, the leaves will start dying. The roots are not mature and the plant is not ready to accept it. It is too high dose of medicine for plants. Okay, so that's the reason why the plants may start dying. Sometimes you must have noticed that you add a fertilizer, you something, and the plants die. So because the plants cannot get used to it and it's too heavy dose for the plants. Now, once the compost is fully matured and ready, sieve it to remove the undecomposed pieces only, and use it as a soil supplement to grow plants. The ratio for compost to soil is 1:3, which is prepared in this method. If you're buying ready-made compost, you just have a handful or a fist, what you can accommodate in your hands like this, only that much is required. But this is what you are making in the house, has no chemicals, and it has no starter to it and nothing to it. It's your originally homemade compost, so it is perfectly fine. Now the first time you will not have a starter, but the second time you can use, instead of the red earth, along with the red earth or soil that you are covering your compost with, you can add a handful of the compost that is made. So this will quicken your making of compost in the fresh cooking bin. Fine. So that was all about composting. Now we'll have a live demo about it. Please give it a minute. I'll close this presentation. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll join you in a minute. I don't know. Hello, can you just spotlight Meghna Mehta, please? GV assist.
Yes. Any problem, Mataji? Yes, we can resume. Yes.
Hello, is there anyone there from GV? Can you just spotlight Meghna Mehta's phone?
Yes, just 1 second. 1 second. Yes, Yash. Spotlight Meghna Mehta.
See, sawdust, and as I told you now, nothing is pure. I mean, sawdust is there, it's not necessarily that it is wood. Had it been of
You can
pure
just
wood, you can use it. But now what we have instead of wood is laminated and mica and all. So laminated wood and is all many other things are there. So it is better not to use anything and keep to natural things. Hay
start the
is there, it
video
is
and we
covered
will
with
put you on
wax.
spotlight.
Sawdust is there. Now, sawdust also, we know that it's no longer pure wood that we are using. Yeah, you are sure that is a pure wood sawdust, then of course you can use it. Please just spotlight Meghna Mehta. So I just want to show you
Yes, you
the
can just begin the
process.
video, Mataji, and
I'm
we'll put
waiting
you
to
on
be
spotlight.
spotlighted.
Meghna ji, Meghna ji. Hello, Meghna ji.
Hello, everybody. So can you all get me? Just give me a thumbs up. Am I audible and visible? Yeah, thank you. So see, this is what we have. So I have got some dried flowers, a little wet also. So this can go in dried for a day. This is the dried green waste that I have dried for one day. Some peels of carrot, apples, potato, cabbage, fine, dried flowers, which are offered to the Lord, different colors. So the more the color, more the variety. So we are daily using, as I told you, then I have some dried corn sheaves also. So now got a variety and colorful of things. So what happens as we eat healthy? So every day we are eating something, coconut coir. So every day we eat different varieties of food, different salads and fruits and vegetables. So everything if goes in compost, it is the best. Why? Because all those nutrition will go. Then I have this bin, in which holes have to be made at the bottom. So you can make the holes simply by taking a candle, if it is a plastic container, or with the help of a kitchen Caesar, right? So instead of hole, I have got the big cut. Okay, so I can use this cut and I can put it in a container or something so that if any excess moisture is there, you see it's a cut down there. So any excess moisture, water will be there, it will drip down. And I can cover this container afterwards. Now, the process, as I told you, first is coconut coir, but everything has to be chopped down into small pieces. Okay. Then we can have some twigs. Now, in the bottom, why are we having coconut coir and twigs? And also that the water which may seep down or which from the greens, which the water or the moisture level comes out, it will become wet after a day or two. So that at the bottom, it does not accumulate and comes down from the holes or the cut that I have done at the bottom. So very as small piece as possible as for a demo purpose. So I'm not doing it so small, but yes, you can cut it in as small pieces as possible. Fine. So that's a layer of coconut fiber. You can use sugarcane, dried sugarcane bagasse. Then I chop down my greens. So this is my greens that I'm chopping down into small, tiny pieces, as small as possible. I'll be sharing some videos and notes on the group itself. So for you all to be better informed about this. So you can see the demo once more. The same will be, the video of course will be shared apart from some short videos. So then I have another layer of greens. So different varieties. I have the cabbage, I have the carrot, I have the potatoes. So I have the apple core. Okay. So the apple cores also goes in. Then some dried flowers, petals goes in. Now, many times when you're using some dried things or fruits and leftover of fruits or something, be sure not to let the seeds in. Now, this is a dried part of a basil. So if you find, as I see, you see this black color are the basil seeds. Now, the seeds should not go in. If the seeds go in, what happens? It will grow when you have, then the moisture is there. So we don't want, we just be careful not to let in any seeds inside. Fine. So I have the flour. This is the lotus flower. Just churn it into tiny pieces. So different kinds of greens goes in. So if you find, if you have a small container, it will be full within a day only. So it's very easy and convenient to maintain those in the house, you know. And then there's one container of this mixed with 2 containers of soil and you're ready to pot. Now, dried leaves. Now, these are neem, dried leaves of neem. Crush it. So that's a neem dried up. So I'm crushing the leaves. Since it is dry, it is very easy to crush it. In this one container only is filled up. I don't need. So for that you can do layers. Now see, enough of browns are there now. So now I can again do a layer of greens. Chop down. Make sure no stickers or paper go. If it goes, it's perfectly fine. Because when the compost will make, that will be decomposed, uncomposed. Chop it down as much as possible. Now, you have to put a layer of soil also. Before you do that, put a layer of soil also. But it's fine if you don't put a layer of soil. You can finally put it. It's one container and that container is getting full. Or if you have a starter or compost ready at home, you can put it. Right now, I'm not showing with the soil because I'm there in my house and I don't want the soil to come in. Hence, I have not shown the layer of soil. But before doing another second round, sprinkle some soil. Soil is basically to keep away the flies. Because if it's out there in the open, the flies, it will attract flies. But then you have so much of dry thing, it's perfectly fine. So again a brown, again greens. The greens can be of flowers, then press it down. You have more space. So all the leftover that was to go in the dustbin, which we do not consume, will go in our compost. In between, for aeration purpose, you can put some twigs or coconut fiber or sugarcane bagasse so that there's a out there aeration for aeration purpose. You put some twigs. Press it down. Put some more browns. You can put whatever you want, whatever ways that you have done. Yes, but vegetarian. No non-veg, no eggshells, coffee grounds can be put. Tea leaves dried can be put, but make sure there's no sugar contained in it. And you completely dry your coffee grounds or tea waste after drinking tea, coffee. So there are corn pills. You have corn, you have carrot, you have apple, you have lettuce, everything, all healthy food going on in your compost. Your compost is going to be healthy and you will have a healthy soil and healthy things will be grown by you in your plants. See, there's an apple seed over here. Make sure that you take out the seed. So because when you plant, use it for planting. What will happen? It will start growing. This carrot top has already started growing because of the moisture contained. I kept it out for in a plastic bag, but that's already grown. Fine. So we just cut it out, chop it down, chop, chop, chop. So we see that our bin is full now. This is the stem. I cut it down. And I again cover it with a layer. Now, this can be covered with a wet cloth because the greens that are in there, if you see the greens here which has been used, you see it's already, the moisture has already come. This is 2 days old. So what happened, becomes sticky and the moisture is there. And this attracts flies and all. Since we don't want this, we use it in the gray part. Fine. Some more greens because I have it. I'll complete it. And some more browns. Now I also need to churn it. So what am I doing now? I have this twig out here, right? So what I do, I put this twig in. So it becomes easy for me to churn. Or if it is not easy for me to churn because the container's mouth is small, it will not be possible for me to put the hand. I can turn it over, take it out in a small newspaper or something, turn it over and again put it back. So I cover it with the brown so as to not attract lights. So that's our compost bin that is ready now. So if I take proper care of this, within 1 month's time, I'll have a nice compost ready for me to be used. No, I'm not putting any more greens now because I've covered with the browns. I don't have place for browns now. So no more greens. So see how simple it is to just gather all the waste and make your own soil. Yes, you can make your own soil. You don't need to buy it. Earlier, everything was available for free by nature, but now we need to buy everything. So we can go back to basics and make our own soil. So this compost bin is now ready. And I cover it with a close it. I can keep a moist cloth on top of it also, right? Or I may not put it. And now I keep it covered out in the open in the balcony in a warm place. Okay, the temperature should be perfect. In a warm place, I put it. So that's bin is ready. The compost bin, label it so nobody mistakes it for curd. So that was about it. So now we can take a question answer session. Okay, so any doubts, you can put it out on chat or we can have you all unmuted. Fine. So wood waste can be used if it is wood, pure wood. Yes, it can be used. Twigs are nothing but wood. 1 minute, I'll just scroll up. Going from the first. Yes, first is the wood waste can be used. Yes, if it is pure wood. Please advise how to dry wet leftovers. Leftovers are not the cooked food. It is the uncooked food. Just dry it out in the sun for 1 day. Keep it out in the balcony. Keep it out on your windowsill. Keep it out for 1 day. Not in the house, in the kitchen where you have enough of air and ventilation. Keep it out for 1 day. That would be enough drying. Can we include citrus leftover fruits? Yes, but make sure there's not too much of juice or of it because it will be too juicy. Citrus juice will come out of the fruits and all. So what will happen? The moisture level will increase. So we need to balance that moisture level. Okay, can we use sawdust for composting in place of browns? As I told you, sawdust if coming from wood, yes. If coming from laminated wood, preferably no, because that will not decompose. Basically, that's the idea. Yes, you can use orange peel or lime peel, cut it down to small pieces. Of course, anything that you eat can be put it, but not cook, uncooked. What you prepare to cook your food it can be chili, twigs, the top part, it can be the peels, it can be shells of peas, it can be lime, it can be oranges, everything can be put. Can we add leftovers? Okay, please show to churn the contents of the bin. I'll send a separate video on that. Instead of dried leaves, can we use newspaper? As I said earlier, no, newspapers cannot be used because paper take longer time to decompose and it will not be natural. And a newspaper will also have printing ink to it. So if printing ink is there, so it is not advisable because of course it's nothing but chemicals, you all know. Thank you. Clear about herbal teas, coffee and tea leaves. uh, Herbal teas, coffees, and tea leaves you can use, which you have used. But in India, when we are making tea, we don't use tea bags and we just dip it in water. We also add sugar to it. So when you are using dry tea leaves and making tea the traditional way, boiling it over the gas stove, so make sure that the tea leaves that you are using the tea leaves that you are using is dried and is without the sugar contained. So it has to be washed. So if you're making tea today, completely wash away the tea leaves. Once the tea leaves are completely washed away, after washing it away, dry it and then put it in compost. Dry it for one day and then put it so it's not too much wet. Same thing with coffee. And no churning should be no. Churning has to be done. Churning has to be done every 2 days. Once the once the compost bin is full, then you do the churning every 2 days. Or you sell manure that you'll have to contact Govardhan Eco Village for that. Large bin say yes, you can have a large bin of 5 to 10 liters also. Okay, I think that are all the questions and queries. Now I have 4 people raising hands. So yes, we can have your questions. You can unmute yourself and ask questions. I'm not able to unmute yet. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is that we generate the waste every day. So I was just a little confused that means we dry it, we dry the greens every day, or do we collect them for 4 5 days and then dry them? And do we generally add it after 4 5 days because it's generated every day, right? So we have to do
Right.
this process every day.
Yeah. See, every day if you dry it, as I showed you in my case, I showed you some moisture out of that carrot peels, right? It became wet. So if you're going to collect it for 4 5 days, so you can collect it for 4 5 days and but keep it drying. So that was in a bag. So when I kept it in a bag, in a plastic bag, so it doesn't get air, moisture, doesn't get the ventilation to dry it, and the water contained is emitted. So this water that comes out, so that attracts flies, it attracts, give birth to maggots. Okay, so that is what we don't want. And hence it is preferable, dry it every day and put it in a bin. So today, whatever waste you have come means from the kitchen, whatever waste that we have come, instead of throwing in the dustbin, we put it out in the balcony. We take an aluminum container for that. We get this disposable, aluminum disposable, the big trays and all. So just put it on that. So that would be better. And then put it in a container. Once dried,
Okay.
put it in a container, collect that
Okay.
for 4 5 days, and then
Okay.
use it for that. And that you can do. But the
So that
basic
means
idea
that
is just, yeah,
so
yes,
we'll base the composting process which you showed us now of adding various layers that can be done once a week
you can do that.
rather
Yes.
than doing it every day.
Yeah, because we may not get the time in our daily life every day. So you can just have a point one Sunday or a weekend where you can do it. But dry it and keep so that it doesn't become wet and doesn't attract insects. That's the only thing.
And we can add multiple layers in one bin itself. So
Yes.
we put this and then after a week put another layer on top of it, or we have to have separate containers for 1 week. And how does it
No,
work?
no, no, no. Till the time the container is full, you can use. You can use a 5 liter bin or a 10 liter bin and have a big container. Keep on adding. So suppose you are doing it every Saturday or a Sunday. So whatever greens you have collected, equal amount of browns you need to have.
Sure.
That's it. So
Okay.
every week on piling up till the time and press it. So it will go down also after 2 3 weeks because the down layer will start composting,
Right.
and then you have it. And then churn
So
and mix once it is full.
so from the first day that I did it, the compost, because if I add every week, so let's say I add for 4 weeks, then the compost will be ready after the last week or after the first week when I started.
After the last week.
Okay, got it.
But the time
Yeah.
taken would not be, see, from the first week also, first week it will be, first week if you start and you make a bin, which is completely full after first week. So it may take something around 1.5 months to 2 months to make. The second time around, what happens, we can use some of the leftover. When we sieve the compost and whatever is left over, we add that to our new bin of compost. So that will speed up the matter. But the first week, the composting starts. So the time taken will be little less. It may not be 1.5 week from the 1.5 month from the first week, but it will not be 2 months or 1.5 months from the last time also. It will be something in between that.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. My pleasure.
मैम,
Yes.
मुझे ये पूछना था कि आपने तो बोला कि सब ड्राई लीव्स डालना है, ड्राई करके पूरे, तो मॉइस्चर कहाँ से आता है?
ड्राई मतलब खाली सुखा रहे हैं एक दिन के लिए, ज्यादा नहीं सुखा रहे उसको। ड्राई एकदम जैसे अभी ड्राई करके उसको पापड़ के जैसे ड्राई नहीं कर रहे।
ओके ओके ओके।
खाली एक दिन उसको खुले में छोड़ रहे हैं,
हाँ
बालकनी में या थोड़ा धूप आया, जितना भी धूप है, एक ही दिन उसको खुले में छोड़ रहे हैं ताकि उसमें ज्यादा पानी नहीं निकले। ज्यादा पानी निकलने से क्या होता है, कीड़े होने लगते हैं और वो फ्रूट फ्लाई
ओके।
होने लगती है। उसके
और
लिए
वो
कीड़े
प्रोसेस होने को कितना, 1 मंथ लगता है?
1.5 महीना।
ओके, सो
ये
इट विल
पूरा
टेक
नोट्स में
टाइम।
ग्रुप में, हाँ पूरा नोट्स में ग्रुप में डाल दूंगी। हाँ, एक फर्स्ट टाइम होगा, लेकिन फिर क्या होगा ना, आपके कंटेनर से आप बना रहे हो उसको रेगुलरली, तो फिर वो रेगुलर इंटरवल में आपको मिलता रहता है। और छोटे कंटेनर इसीलिए रखने के ताकि वो जल्दी जल्दी हो। बड़े कंटेनर जैसे 5 लीटर का कंटेनर है तो उसको 1.5-2 महीना लग जाएगा। अभी छोटा कंटेनर है तो वो जल्दी हो जाएगा, 1 महीने में भी हो जाएगा।
अच्छा अच्छा, ओके ओके, थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू।
वेलकम, माय प्लेजर। यस सुजाता जी। और किसी को है सवाल? ओके, आई एम नॉट क्लियर अबाउट, आई थिंक आई आंसर्ड दैट। 2 new messages. Cocoa peat is not at this stage. Cocoa peat is to be added when we are setting up the pot to grow plants. Cocoa peat is to be added with the compost and the soil for the plants, not at the composting stage. Okay, do we have options other than, yeah, any leaves is fine. Neem leaves is preferably, I said, if you have a neem tree option around you, if you have neem trees around you, prefer to have neem leaves, but the more the variety, the more the good. As we say, we need to have all color foods, right? We are having different varieties of food. Our food plates, and especially the Indian thali has different varieties. So similarly, our compost can also have as many varieties as possible, but all natural. That's it. So neem leaves, why? Because then it will have some anti-insecticides properties. That's the reason why. Without neem leaves is also perfectly fine. Any sort of dry leaves is fine. To hasten the compost, you need to have a starter. If you have a compost ready, you can add along with the red soil and any local soil that you are adding to cover the compost. You can use the soil. You can use the compost. So that will add as a starter and speed it up. Yes, stainless steel tray is absolutely fine. The aluminum tray I have advised and I had told, because it can be a plastic tray, it can be a mud, it can be an old gamla, it can be a pot that you are no longer using. Anything can be used to dry your green waste. कुछ गमला पड़ा हुआ है, कोई डिब्बा पड़ा हुआ है, कुछ भी। ऐसा नहीं है कि एल्यूमिनियम ट्रे ही चाहिए। एल्यूमिनियम ट्रे क्या होता है कि जनरली जब बाहर हम खाने का कुछ रखते हैं तो वो बर्ड्स आने लगेंगे, कौवा आ जाएगा, क्रो विल कम और समथिंग, सम अदर बर्ड्स में कम, खाना समझ के। तो वो हमारे घर में और बालकनी में आके कचरा ना करे, बिकॉज व्हेन दे पिक अप, दे ट्राई टू ईट दैट, दे मे लिटर द प्लेस ऑल ओवर। सो दैट्स द रीजन व्हाई एल्यूमिनियम, सो दैट विल डिस्ट्रैक्ट। वो रिफ्लेक्शन से क्या होंगे, बर्ड्स नहीं आएंगे, इसलिए मेटल है तो अच्छा है। See, anti-insect properties neem leaves के जैसे ऐसा कुछ नहीं, anything is fine with the compost, it's perfectly fine, वैसा कुछ नहीं है। It's not necessary to put it. Okay. कर्ड टू द दिन, तो कर्ड आप डाल सकते हो, वो अलग हो जाता है। कर्ड होंगे तो उसमें क्या होंगे, माइक्रोब्स बनेंगे, फिर वो कर्ड का एक स्मेल आएगा। सो यू हैव टू बेयर विद दैट। कर्ड से भी स्टार्टर होता है, तो वो होता है, उस अलग मेथड है। तो उसमें क्या होता है, फर्स्ट यू हैव टू मेक दिस स्टार्टर, वो कर्ड डाल के, गुड़ डाल के थोड़ा उसको 1 हफ्ते रहने देना पड़ता है, जिससे कि माइक्रोब्स बन जाते हैं, और उसके बाद उसको डाला जाता है एज अ स्टार्टर टू कंपोस्ट। और दैट इज अ बिट लेंदी तो नहीं बोला जाए, थोड़ा उसमें क्या होता है, घन, अगर आपके पास गार्डन या खुला जगह है तो अच्छा रहता है, बिकॉज व्हाट हैपन, द फाउल स्मेल विल कम फ्रॉम द कर्ड. The curd, if you keep it for 2-3 days, and foul smell and some organism, not microorganism, but organism, visible organisms are also there in the curd. And in anaerobic, and that would be a type of anaerobic method of composting, more of bokashi. Bokashi is a Japanese method of composting. So in that, the curd is used and the starter is used. And first we start with the anaerobic respirations of some materials, and then that is added to our greens and browns to speed up things. And but it's difficult to handle in houses. So what am I teaching you is an aerobic method of composting, more preferably in our households.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I just wanted to ask whether the soil, it was required only to keep away the insects, or it is really required?
A little amount is required, but basically more of it is to keep away insects. So when I was showing you the demo, I had not put any soil in that, but I will put it eventually afterwards, because I didn't have it ready right now with me, because what soil I have is the mixture potting soil. So do not use potting soil. It has to be earth, pure soil.
Pure soil, okay. And would it work in places where you have like low temperatures, like 15 to 20 degrees
15, 20,
as an average?
below that.
Not below that. So if the temperatures are below that, that means if I'm doing it in the winter or something, then that means that does it take more time, or it doesn't happen at all?
It will take a lot more time, because microorganisms are very active at an ideal temperature. The ideal temperature is between, say, 20 to 35, 40. Above 40 also, what will happen? It will dry up. The things become very dry. So it will not decompose. For anything to decompose, now why we keep things in refrigerator? So that it doesn't get spoiled quickly, right? The temperatures are low, it will not get spoiled. But if you have things outside in the moderate temperatures of India, like 25 plus, the thing gets spoiled. So the process of decomposing starts. So that's the reason why.
So that means that this particular process of making compost is not really useful in maybe cold countries where.
Countries, you need to have your bin place in a place where it is warm, because the kitchens are always warm. Kitchens are never cold, right?
Okay, okay. And the greens, do they need, the brown foliage, does that really need to turn brown, or just dried green leaves?
No, just dry. It can be green. It can be green in color. Just dry. It doesn't have to be brown in color. Just dry that you can control it.
Okay, thank you so much.
In all countries, what you can do, you can not dry the greens as such, because then the moisture level will be high. So if the moisture level is high, the decomposition will happen a little faster.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any other queries? Yeah, your compost bin is half full at the moment. You can churn it for it to be uniform. Otherwise, what will happen? The bottom will, as I was telling the other person, that the bottom will start composting, and the top part, if the container is big, the top part is still raw. So it will take a longer time. So you keep on churning. Once it is half full, keep on churning. Okay. So like if suppose the bin is getting full in 4 weeks, so after 2 weeks, churn it. Third week, again churn it. Fourth week, again churn it. And then keep it for maturing. You have to keep your bin in a place not out in sun, which is warm. ATM, you have to remember. A is your air, T is your temperature, and M is your moisture. Where all the three things are available, you have to keep your bin in that place where you have the ATM. Okay, any other queries? I hope that was clear to all. So we can end our session here. Thank you everyone for joining. We have a series of workshops coming up every Friday for next 4 weeks. So you can join me for that. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. The session has been really helpful.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is that all throughout ours?
Unmute. Speak.